In a move that sent ripples through South Africa's political landscape, President Cyril Ramaphosa has categorically refused to meet with representatives from AfriForum and Solidarity. This decision, as announced by presidential spokesperson Vincent Magwenya, stems from the group's persistent dissemination of misleading information about South Africa on the international stage. Magwenya highlighted AfriForum's long history of distorting facts, particularly concerning the nation's land reform policies. He specifically pointed to a 2018 incident where AfriForum propagated falsehoods globally, causing significant damage to South Africa's reputation. Their actions, Magwenya emphasized, directly contradict the spirit of constructive dialogue and national unity that the government strives to foster. The president's refusal to engage with AfriForum is a firm stance against the spread of harmful misinformation and a clear message that such tactics will not be entertained. This decision reflects the growing concern within South Africa about the detrimental impact of misinformation, especially when it bleeds into the international arena. It underscores the Ramaphosa administration's commitment to upholding truth and accuracy in the face of deliberate distortion campaigns. The refusal also serves as a stark warning to groups seeking to exploit global platforms for narrow agendas at the expense of national harmony and progress. The international community is watching closely as South Africa grapples with these complex issues. AfriForum, a self-proclaimed civil rights organization, has long been accused of peddling a skewed narrative about South Africa to international audiences. Their tactics often involve amplifying isolated incidents while downplaying the broader context of the country's post-apartheid transformation. This strategy, critics argue, serves to paint a misleading picture of a nation in chaos and fuels a dangerous narrative of white victimization. One of the most glaring examples of AfriForum's distortion campaign revolves around South Africa's land expropriation policy. This policy, intended to address historical injustices and promote equitable land distribution, has been deliberately misrepresented by AfriForum as a form of racist seizure targeting white landowners. By framing the issue in such stark terms, AfriForum has successfully garnered support from right-wing groups abroad who remain sympathetic to the apartheid-era power dynamics. Their efforts to internationalize their skewed narrative reached a fever pitch when they penned a letter to former U.S. President Donald Trump. In this letter, AfriForum falsely accused the South African government of orchestrating widespread land seizures targeting white farmers. They implored Trump to intervene in what they portrayed as a dire situation, playing on his well-documented susceptibility to misinformation and his penchant for strongman diplomacy. This calculated move, designed to garner international pressure on the South African government, ultimately backfired when Trump responded by offering refugee status to white South African farmers. AfriForum, caught in the web of their own manufactured crisis, was forced to publicly reject Trump's offer, revealing the hollowness of their claims and further damaging their credibility. AfriForum's misleading portrayal of South Africa's land reform policy had far-reaching consequences, most notably influencing Donald Trump's decision to cut financial aid to the country. Trump, known for his impulsive decision-making and his reliance on dubious sources of information, publicly cited concerns about land seizures as justification for the aid cut. This move, widely condemned as ill-informed and counterproductive, had a ripple effect throughout South Africa's diplomatic and economic sectors. The South African government, caught off guard by Trump's abrupt decision, scrambled to engage with the U.S. administration to clarify the situation. Vincent Magwenya reiterated that the U.S. government was fully aware of the true nature of South Africa's land reform program, dismissing AfriForum's claims as baseless and politically motivated. However, the damage was already done. Trump's actions, fueled by misinformation and a lack of due diligence, had cast a shadow over South Africa's international standing. The episode also exposed the vulnerability of developing nations to the whims of powerful leaders swayed by misinformation campaigns. It highlighted the need for robust diplomatic channels and proactive communication strategies to counter such narratives before they gain traction on the global stage. The South African government, in the wake of this debacle, vowed to strengthen its international outreach efforts to ensure that its policies are accurately represented and understood. The fallout from the aid cut was not limited to the diplomatic sphere. It also ignited a firestorm of controversy within South Africa, further deepening the existing political and racial divides. Many saw Trump's actions as a validation of AfriForum's distorted narrative, bolstering the group's standing among certain segments of the population while further alienating others. The incident served as a stark reminder of the fragility of South Africa's social fabric, where historical wounds run deep and misinformation can easily exploit existing tensions. The South African public reacted to AfriForum's actions and the subsequent U.S. aid cut with a mixture of anger, dismay, and a renewed sense of urgency. Many accused AfriForum of treason, arguing that their deliberate spreading of misinformation had undermined the country's interests on the world stage. Social media platforms became hotbeds of debate, with calls for AfriForum to be held accountable for the damage they had wrought. The government, while grappling with the diplomatic fallout, also faced mounting pressure to address the root causes of the crisis. Calls for greater transparency in the land reform process intensified, as did demands for a more robust national dialogue to address historical grievances and chart a unified path forward. The incident served as a wake-up call, highlighting the need for proactive measures to combat misinformation and foster greater social cohesion. Meanwhile, the government's efforts to engage with the Trump administration continued, albeit with limited success. The U.S., despite mounting evidence to the contrary, remained steadfast in its position, leaving South Africa in a diplomatic quagmire. This impasse underscored the challenges of navigating international relations in an era of heightened political polarization and the weaponization of misinformation. The saga of AfriForum, Donald Trump, and the U.S. aid cut serves as a cautionary tale about the real-world consequences of misinformation in the digital age. It highlights the urgent need for critical thinking, media literacy, and a collective commitment to truth-seeking in an era where narratives can be easily manipulated and disseminated with lightning speed. For South Africa, the incident serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of its hard-won democracy and the importance of safeguarding it against those who seek to exploit its vulnerabilities for personal or political gain.